What's up, guys? Troy from Tadcatters. Welcome back. Today, we're going to be telling an epic story of the most memorable fish that I've ever caught in my entire life. Not just because of the size of the fish, but how I caught it and what happened when I caught it. This was by far, the most memorable fish that I've ever caught. This is 100% true. Both my kids were there to be witnesses, I guess. They may not be reliable witnesses, but they were witnesses of what happened and what transpired. So, you guys hang out, and we're going to see if we can't get into some story time. So let me give you some backstory on this. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. It was in the springtime, and it was still kind of cold outside. It was one of those days that, you go out and you've got a heavy sweatshirt on, and in the morning time, and then by midday, you can kind of take that sweatshirt off and either, wear a long sleeve shirt or maybe even a t-shirt. But anyways, both my kids wanted to go fishing this day, and we decided that we were going to go crappie fishing. And most of you know, some of you don't. I'm from West Virginia. I used to primarily fish the Kanawha River. It was around Poca, Nitro. But in Nitro, there is a backwater. And in the springtime, that thing loads up with big crappie. Crappie, however y'all say it. I say crappie. But anyways, we decided to go crappie fishing. So we got some minnows, and we went crappie fishing for a little bit. Anyways, if any of you guys have ever fished with small kids, my daughters are my oldest daughter will be 11 this year, and my youngest daughter will be 9 this year. If you've ever fished with young kids, you know how hectic it can be. You're doing a lot of casting, a lot of reeling. You don't get to do much fishing, but it's not about that. It's about getting the kids out and fishing. But anyways, a lot of untangling. Anyways, I take them fishing. We drive all the way down there, get them out of their car seats, walk down to the water, and we're fishing the backwater. So it's off of the Kanawha River. Well, the Kanawha River at the time was like super flooded, so the backwater was up a little bit. But anyways, I put some bobbers on their poles, and we threw them out, and I'm pretty sure they caught about 6 or 7 crappie, and a couple of them were really, really nice. Well, by the time we fished probably an hour and a half, 2 hours, I was ready to go. I'd had enough. I'd had my fair share of untangling and hooks in the hands and whatever. But I was ready to go. Well, they weren't ready to go. All right, so before I go any further with this, I didn't mention that the river was flooded, so the backwater was kind of up a little bit when we were crappie fishing. I was real reluctant on going anyways. But anyways, the girls weren't done fishing. They wanted to go some more, so I'd run out of minnows, so I decided to take them catfishing for a little bit. The spot that I wanted to go was at the mouth of this backwater that we were crappie fishing. And at the mouth of it, there's a real sharp eddy. There's a big drop-off. It usually creates like a big eddy, and it's real good current break. And anyways, that's where I wanted to go because the river was so flooded. Well, we didn't have any bait. So I knew of one of my buddies that were fishing, and I called him. I was surprised that they were even fishing just because the floodwaters were so bad. But they had some extra bait, and we decided to go get some frozen skipjack from my buddy. So we drive down, get the bait, and we go to the spot. We lug all this gear down there, rod holders, rods, da-da-da. And my kids were little, man. I remember them, like, dragging stuff down through there. But anyways, we get down there. I bait all the poles up and throw them all out. I think I had, like, 6 poles out. So we're sitting there, the girls are playing around, whatever they were doing, playing with sticks in the dirt or whatever. And we sit there, and I told myself, I said, we'll fish for about an hour. And it's like I said, I was so frustrated from dealing with their messes on their fishing poles and stuff. I was ready to go anyways. But anyways, I told myself, I said, we'll fish for an hour. If I don't get anything in an hour, we'll go home. So we sat there, nothing. and there was a bunch of trash there. I remember there was trash like swirling around, and it kept getting in my line. I kept having to, jerk it out, whatever, flipping the line off the trash. Kept getting hung up because the trash was getting your line, whatever. But anyways, I started getting real frustrated. And anyways, I told the girls, I said, we fished for an hour. I said, let's get everything, and we'll start putting everything back in the Jeep to get out of here. So I take the girls, and we we start carrying all this stuff up there, all the tackle, whatever. But I left the 6 poles. I left those in the water. So we carry all the stuff, all the chairs, all the tackles, all that stuff back up to my truck, or my Jeep. I had a Jeep at the time. So we take all that back up there, and I told the girls, I said, you guys stay right here. And I said, I'm going to go down and reel the poles in, and I'll I'll come back up, and we'll get out of here. So as I'm walking back down the trail to go down to get the poles, this was way before any of this Tadcatter stuff. This was way before I filmed anything. I didn't have very good gear. I used rip and lip rods. Those are really good rods, but I had real cheap reels and real cheap line, just pretty cheap stuff. But anyways, so I walked down this trail, and like I said before, there's a lot of trash in the water, logs, whatever, bunch of flood trash. I walked down there. I had 6 poles out. 5 of them were bait casting rods, and one of them was a medium spinning rod with a Kuma. I can't even remember. It was like a bait run reel. I can't even remember what it was called, but it was a Kuma reel. And it was halfway, probably mid $40-$50 reel. But it was like the best reel I had, and I come down through there, and this rod was just bent plumb over. I mean, just rip and drag. And I was like, man, my first thought was, there's a daggone log in my line, because I dealt with it all day since I'd been there. For the last hour, that's all I did was fight, trash, sticks, logs, branches, limbs, whatever, try to get all that stuff out of my line. So that's what I thought was, that there was a big log that got in my line. So anyways, I go walking, moseying down through there. I didn't get in any hurry because, I didn't think it was a fish. But it was rip and drag. And I noticed that it had taken so much drag that it was almost spooled. Like, and it was a fish. So I pick it up, and I started to reel down on it. And when I pulled back, it pulled. And I was like, whoa, there's a fish on here. And I knew it was a big fish. I didn't know how big. This fish, it ran out of the eddy and the calm spot that I was fishing, and it had got into this flood water, this current, and it was just, the current was just ripping on this side. So I'm fighting this fish and fighting it, and I can't hardly turn her. And so I hollered for my kids, and I said, you guys come back down here and bring a net. I said, I've got a big fish on here. So they're all excited, hollering and stuff, and they didn't know, they were a little younger. So they, instead of bringing a dip net, they brought down a throw net, and there was no possible way that you were going to get this fish in with a throw net. So anyways, I see the fish roll up. I finally get it back into the eddy. I see the fish roll, and I knew at the time this was the biggest fish that I'd ever personally seen. So I was super pumped up. I mean, when you see something like that your first time, you see your personal best, it does something to you, man. I mean, you get pumped up, you start shaking, and that's why I love fishing. And if it didn't do me like that, I wouldn't fish. But anyways, I really thought that, I don't know what was going through my head, but I thought that I could like flip this thing up on the bank. Why I thought I could flip this huge fish up on the bank, I don't know, but I was so excited that that's what I was going to do, because the kids weren't back with the throw net or the dip net. They were still at the truck trying to get it out, or the Jeep trying to get it out. So what I do is I try to horse it up on the bank, and when I go to horse this thing up on the bank, like I said, I had some cheap gear, and my leader broke. Snap, pow. The the fish just laid there. I don't know that if it was because it was tired or what happened, but the fish just, she was still in the water, and she just laid there. And the way this bank worked, it's like a point. It comes out like this. The backwater's on one side, and the river is on the other side. Well, it's about, I don't know, probably a 3 or 4 foot drop, just to the water, and then the water right at the bank's probably, probably 3 or 4 feet. And at the time, it was flooded, so it was almost up, probably a foot away from the being level with the bank. Well, she flopped down into that water, and she just laid there on top of the water. And so I had everything in my pockets, man. I had a pistol, I had my keys, I had my cell phone. My first thought was, there's no way I'm letting this fish go. There's no way. Ain't gonna happen. So what do? It's 50 degrees outside. I jump on the fish, jump in the water. Clothes, sweatshirt, gun, keys, cell phone, everything. I jump on the fish, jump in the water. The water's up to my chest. So I bear hug this fish. And this is no lie, I swear. This fish starts fighting, flopping around. I guess she got her energy back or something, or I scared her or whatever. Well, I thought I was freaking out. You know what I mean? I thought that this fish was going to pull me out towards this flood water, but I wasn't going to let her go. There's no way I was going to let this fish go. So finally, I'm holding on to her and trying to swim back to the shore. And my kids run down, and they've got the net in their hand. And I remember my daughter, she said, "Dad, what are you doing?" And I was like, help me. I've got this big fish. And then finally they realized I had that fish, and they're like, oh my God, So I get the fish in. And once I get this fish up there, I was so, I don't even know what to say. I was dumbfounded. I could not believe that I'd caught this huge fish. I'd fished so long, and so, I put so much time in back then. I still put a lot of time in, but I couldn't believe it. I was at a loss for words. So the fish is laying here, and I'm worried about, getting the fish back in the water. Well, what goes through my mind next is, nobody's going to believe that I caught this huge fish. So I put the fish in the net and, drop her back down in the water. I put her in my dip net, drop her back down in the water to let her breathe and let her catch her energy back, catch her breath, whatever. So I'm sitting here thinking, how am I gonna prove that I caught this fish? And because my cell phone was gutted, junked. I remember I pulled it out of my pocket, and I tried to snap a picture real quick. Of course, it was, it would come on, but the screen was just black. And this was before I knew anything about, the rice stuff or whatever. But anyways, so I thought, well, I'll just call somebody. I'll call my buddy to come down here and take a picture of me. How you gonna call somebody? You ain't got no phone. Your phone's junked. I remember my pistol had mud caked up in the barrel and stuff. I had to take it apart and clean it. So anyways, I'm sitting there trying to figure out how I'm going to have proof of this fish. So lo and behold, what do? I grabbed the fish up, and I said, I remember when we were leaving the backwaters, I remember there was people pulling in there to fish. And I thought, man, and it's not it's a quarter mile away. So I thought, I'll throw this thing in the back of the Jeep. I'll put it down in the water, and I'll let her catch her breath, and I'll throw it in the back of the Jeep and run down there and have somebody take a picture of me, and I'll let it go. So that's what we did. So I remember I was dragging this fish. It was so heavy, man. I drug this fish up, and you had to walk up this big hill. So I'm carrying this huge fish, throw it up in the back of my Jeep, and put the kids in the car seats, buckle them in, and I take off. So I take off, and the fish is flopping around in the back of my Jeep. I remember my kids screaming "Oh my God, Dad!" And we pull in, and I park the Jeep, and I jump out, and there's a woman and an old man down here that they were fishing. You know, they were using Snoopy poles about like my kids was. But anyways, I jump out and I was like, hey, I was like, do you guys have a cell phone? I need your cell phone. I need a cell phone. And this woman, she was like freaking out because she thought something was like seriously wrong, maybe with the kids or something. And she's like, oh my God, yes, of course you can use my cell phone. What's wrong? What's wrong? And I was like, nothing's wrong. I just need you to take a picture of this huge fish. Well, then I guess her husband walked up there, and I tell him, I was like, you know, I've got a huge fish. I need to take a picture of it. I lost my phone, or I dropped my phone in the water, and I was soaking wet. So I had a sweatshirt on. I took the sweatshirt off. I was trying to get warm. I mean, I'm soaking wet, and my adrenaline was pumping so much that I didn't even realize that how cold I was. So, anyways, the woman was like, "Yeah, of course you can use my phone." So I opened the Jeep, you know, popped the hatch up, and both like the girl and her husband were like, "Oh my God, that thing is huge! It's so big!" And I picked the fish up out of there, and I take a couple pictures, and and I was like, you got to send this picture to my Facebook, and they did. She took a couple pictures, sent it to my Facebook, so I finally had proof that I caught this humongous fish. That, you know, it was the biggest fish that I'd ever seen. But anyways, so I still had to let the fish go. So I put the fish back down in the water, and I remember the whole time I was so scared that I was going to kill this fish, and that's something that I'm you know, big time against. I don't want to kill any fish, especially not a fish that big. So I dropped this fish back down in the water, and I grab her by the tail, run her back and forward, letting the water go through her gills, and I feel her tail start trying to go. So I let her go. Well, excuse me. So she takes off, and all of a sudden she starts coming up like this, like on her side. And I thought, oh my God, no. So what do? I run back in the water. So this time, luckily, this backwater wasn't that deep. So I run out there, and by this time there's people around. There's like somebody had stopped on the side of the road and walked down there and was like watching us. Those two people were there. I kind of had an audience. So I'm out in the middle of this river, or in the middle of this backwater, in 50-degree weather, grabbing this big, huge fish, running it back and forwards like this, trying to revive it. So I sat out there for probably, I don't know, 10 minutes, and, you know, back and forwards, rolling water on her. And finally, she took off, and I watched her swim away. She swam off strong, and it was the most epic story. I knew nobody would ever believe me, but thank God I got that picture from that woman. And, you know, I thank the woman, and I remember that woman, or that guy that was with her fishing. I remember right after I let her go, he casted his line, and I swear it damn near hit the fish, like with his sinker. And I was like, you know, oh my God. But anyways, the fish swam away strong, and I had the pictures showed, and I'll show you guys a picture. But anyways, guys, that's the story. It was epic. My kids talk about it still. That, you know, I remember they were telling their grandma about it. You know, Dad jumped in the water after this huge fish and lost his cell phone. Da, 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 da. But it really was epic, man. I wish I would have had cameras back then, or even, you know, the tripods and stuff that I use now, because it would have been the most epic video ever. But it's a pretty epic story, but it'd have been an even more epic video. That definitely went viral. But anyways, guys, again, I'll show you the picture, and I appreciate you guys watching. Hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, check out the YouTube channel, check out the TikTok, and we'll see you on the next one.